Hey guys, Five here with episode number 8 of the Leicester Career Mode on FIFA 23. Kicking today's episode off, we are taking on Leeds, one of the teams that got relegated alongside ourselves. Last episode we ended with the 1-0 victory against Southampton, one of the other teams that got relegated. That was a bit of a difficult game. This one against Leeds, it wasn't as difficult, but it was still a very, very tough challenge, especially these opening few minutes. Trying to suss them out, trying to see the way they played. In game, it seems like they still play that Bielsa ball, that kind of high press, constant pressure, and that maybe played to our advantage later on in the game. You'll just have to wait and see. But early doors, yeah, when they had their full energy, it was very, very difficult for us to kind of break them down, find passes. Eventually, we got one through here, lovely block, and then a lovely save from their keeper. It doesn't look like they're using Meslier though, so they have got a new goalkeeper to go in their goal. Thankfully for them, because Meslier is absolute dog shit. But yeah, these games, we are normally the favourite. I think we're favourite going into every championship game this season because we are just a step above everyone else. So I'm going to move away quickly from talking about the gameplay, and I'm going to talk about some other stuff. I'm going to talk about the Premier League and the transfers that are happening right now. Because I mentioned a few episodes ago about Chelsea selling players to Saudi Arabia. Everyone was kicking off, getting a bit angry, saying it was cheating on Twitter specifically. They also just said the same because apparently Ruben Neves will be going to Saudi Arabia, but there's a chance he gets loaned to Newcastle, which would obviously see them around financial fair play rules because the owners of Newcastle also own the teams in the Saudi League. So that's a bit dodgy, it's a bit iffy. But City did it with Frank Lampard when he signed for NYCFC. He was loaned to them. It's no different to that. If it wasn't cheating back then, it's not cheating now. Watford do it quite a lot as well between Udinese and themselves. So yeah, to me, it's not cheating. It's what smart clubs do. That they have a multi-club business kind of thing. It's the City group, I think Chelsea have just literally apparently bought a stake in RC Strasbourg in France, and they're looking to get a stake in Rio Ave in Portugal. So we're trying to do the same thing, And it's what successful teams do. They have these connections. They have these clubs where they can develop players. They can send players to get around some rules, like maybe work permit rules or financial fair play rules to some degree. I see nothing wrong with it. But, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of people who do see stuff wrong with it, probably because their team don't have those resources. And again, maybe to them it is slightly unfair, but yeah, it's been going on for a very, very long time now. Maybe because a team you don't like has started doing it, now you care. It's a bit dodgy. But yeah, speaking of Saudi Arabia, the transfer yesterday that was rumoured was Bernardo Silva agreeing a contract to go to Saudi Arabia, and this kind of kicked off a few people. This kicked off Gary Neville saying that there should be I think it was an independent person that looks at the Saudi Arabia transfers. Jamie Carragher kicked off saying that it's sports washing. They've bought golf, they've bought boxing, they've bought now football. But you've got to think, how no one owns football, no one owns boxing, no one owns golf. They want to get into it. Obviously, yeah, sports washing. They want to get their brand, to clean their brand, of all the maybe horrible things that Saudi Arabia have done. But yeah, I mean, it's no different to what happened last season. Chelsea signed, I think, 10 plus players. Nottingham Forest signed 10 plus players. No one was complaining then. No one was saying that England have bought football at that point. China, back in the day when they signed all those players, no one's saying China has bought football, has sports washed football. So yeah, I think that's a bit unfair to say. And regarding Bernardo Silva, he's won everything there is to win for him at City. Even at Monaco, he won the league with Monaco. He put a dent in PSG's incredible dominance of French football. He's won Carabao, he's won Premier League, FA Cup, Community Shield, Champions League. He's won it all at City. Maybe he doesn't want to win the Super Cup. Maybe he doesn't want to win the Club World Cup. Maybe he wants to get that generational, once in a generation wealth, that he could get from Saudi Arabia. Because, City, he can get whatever, 200, 300k a week. But, the chance to maybe even double that at Saudi Arabia, at a Saudi Arabian club, that will set your family up forever, basically. If you're smart with it, it will set your family up for generations. Your grandkids, could be set up by that one. And it's just by playing a bit of football when you've won everything. Yeah, he's 28, I want to say. Maybe 27. So he's still young, he's still got his prime. Go to Saudi Arabia for 2 years, come back to Europe. It's that simple. And yeah, the people complaining, I think they're complaining because it's not happening to their club, basically. Liverpool have players they can sell. Maybe they aren't trying as hard, I don't know. But Chelsea have players they want to sell, they're selling them to Saudi Arabia. Wolves, maybe they don't want to sell Ruben Neves, but to get around their FFP and all that, they have to sell him. And he's getting them a bucket load of money. Me personally, I see nothing wrong with it. It's investment into football, and it'll just grow football even more. I mean, maybe it's dodgy, but yeah, to me, I don't mind. Even if it was happening to Arsenal, to Spurs, as a Chelsea fan, those types of transfers, every now and again, a country invests a lot of money into football, and sometimes it fails, sometimes it stops. Like in China, in Saudi Arabia, I do think it's gonna stick around for a long time. I think Saudi Arabia is a more lucrative, a more attractive place to go to for football players than China is. Like as a footballer. Me personally, if I was a Premier League footballer, I would rather move my family to Saudi Arabia than to China. I don't know if that's a common opinion or whatnot, but yeah, personally, that would be my thoughts. So yeah, I think they are here to stay, and I think the same with the MLS. The MLS is trying to grow. They've got Messi. They're trying to get all these players. They've been trying it for years, getting these kind of older, more experienced players. What they're doing in Saudi Arabia is they're getting players in their primes. Ziyech, I think, has just turned 30. He's in his prime. Koulibaly, the same. Mendy, the same. Neves, Bernardo Silva, Thomas Partey, they're all in their prime. Messi, he's not in his prime. He's still past it. He's still very, very good. He's a big name. But then you've got Busquets, I think, is joining him. He's not in his prime. He's past it. What the MLS need to do, they need to get rid of that. They need to get rid of the wage cap, I think. I think the wage cap is hindering the MLS. The amount of money they can spend as a club in total on wages or whatnot, it's hindering them as a league and as an organisation to grow. So I think if they get rid of that, they allow unlimited spending in the MLS, then the league will grow. And I mean, where would you rather play football, England or America? It's pretty simple. But I think, yeah, with the 2026 World Cup, that being in America, football's just going to grow for the next however many years, three years till that grows, till that happens in America. And then 2030, Saudi Arabia have bid for that. So again, the next 7 years, Saudi Arabian football, I think, is just going to explode. So yeah, we could have some new superpowers in terms of football. Could Saudi Arabia become the first club from the Middle East to win the World Cup? Could America be the first club from North America to win the World Cup? They're going to be up there. I think they're going to be up there in the coming years, especially America. I think they are going to have an explosion of football. With Messi going to that country, the interest in football, I think, is going to explode. And it will be very, very interesting to see where they are in 5 years in terms of their team, because I think most American teams, maybe they prefer the athleticism to the technicality, and I think maybe that's where they've gone wrong. But when you see Messi, when you see his technicality, kids in America, they'll want to be like Messi. They'll be practicing their fucking 50-yard pings, their through balls and all that. So I do see an explosion of football in America coming very soon. And yeah, that's my little football talk for this episode. Transfers, sports in America, in Saudi Arabia. If you want football knowledge, just come to me. But yeah, I'm excited for football these next few years, especially the Premier League, because as I mentioned a few episodes ago, there's about 8 teams challenging for European spaces, and I think the teams that are already in Europe, the English teams should win those competitions. I think Villa, they've got to be the favourites to win the Conference League. You look at the quality of some of the teams in that league, and you look at the West Ham team that won it. I think player for player, the Villa team is better than that West Ham team, and they've got Unai Emery, an experienced European Cup winner. They should win that. I would put money on them winning that. Liverpool in the Europa League, they'll be back this season. Undoubtedly, they will be back this season competing for all the trophies, and they should win that. They're probably the best team in that competition, I would assume. But yeah, I mean, Trent's in his new role has been brilliant. He was brilliant for England. Those 2 games we played, some of those balls through to Saka were insane. And speaking of England, the 2024 Euros, keep an eye on them, because I've got surely, if injury free, right now I think the quality of some international teams is quite poor. I think France and England have got great teams, maybe not the best of managers in Deschamps and Southgate for the way that the teams maybe want to play, but they've got, especially England, have got a real club atmosphere, and that's helping out a lot. Germany, they're the hosts, and the team is not the best. They lost to Colombia 2-0 the other day. Spain, not the strongest. They've not really got a striker that can get them forward on this. I want Alvaro Morata or Joselu, I think, are their 2 options right now. Croatia, Modric will, I would assume, retire maybe before the Euros actually happens. So apart from him, they're not the best, Perisic is aging, Kovacic is aging. Gvardiol, I can think of really being their only up-and-coming proper talent, and he's a defender and maybe not the best, you don't want a defender to be your best talent going forward. It's probably worse than a goalkeeper, having a centre-back be your best player. Italy, Netherlands, I was looking at the lineups for those 2 teams for the Nations League 3rd place playoff, I believe it was. The quality in some of the teams, nowhere near that of France and England. So I do see those 2 being the 2 finalists. I mean, should obviously they go on a separate sides of the bracket, that should be the final, if all players are fit and whatnot, and it will be a very, very good game. I think the game at the World Cup between England and France. I think England should have won that game. We took Saka off, and we did classic Southgate, maybe getting a bit too scared to lose than we are excited to win, if that makes sense. It happened at the Euros against Italy. We went 1-0 up, we're going to shit ourselves. We took some players off that shouldn't have been taken off, and we paid the price. But yeah, hopefully going forward, Gareth's learnt from those mistakes. The players coming through at England are insane. The players we've got in England already are insane. So yeah, I'm very, very, very excited for the future of England as a national team, for the Premier League going forward. For my team, Chelsea, going forward, I think, should we get the transfers we are rumoured to be having this window, I think we'll be back up there sooner rather than later. Especially with Poch. I think the way Poch coaches will be up there. So I'm very excited for that. But speaking of being up there, this Leicester team, we are 19 points clear of Norwich, 21 wins, 2 draws, 2 losses, 75 goals scored. So we're averaging about 3 goals a game. And we have conceded less goals than we've played games. So that's really good. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. If you have, please like, subscribe, and peace.